All right, we are back with another episode on international real estate. And today I am with Dave Costa, who is in the Riviera Maya. We're talking Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum. And before I introduce Dave, I just want to let everyone know I'm based in Cabo and I don't know that market that well. We have had real estate in there and we've personally used Dave to sell our real estate, and he came recommended to us and we have been very satisfied. So if anybody's looking for real estate in the Riviera Maya, Dave is your guy. With that being said, Dave, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great, Fletcher. Thanks for having me on your podcast. It's great to see you, great talking to you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today. How's everything with you?
Cool. Good, man. It's another beautiful day in Cabo, so I can't complain too much. And
Yeah, I always say that to my clients that are in the cold north. Like they say, how's it going today? And I say, I'm wearing shorts and flip-flops, at my office, which is my house, and I'm staring at palm trees. So life isn't so bad.
yeah, it could be a little worse. Sometimes I don't feel that comfortable rubbing it in, but depends on who it is. If they've already bought
Yeah,
from me too, I'll be like, hey, come on, guys, when are you coming back down? But
yeah, it's a playful way to start a conversation, but yeah, the one cool thing about our job is that we deal with people that love Mexico, you know, and there's so many people out there that are terrified and they watch the news back home and they're scared and they think we're in a war zone. And we're like, please come down and see it, this war zone. How many margaritas are going to get thrown in your face and how much beach time are you going to have per day? That's what you pretty much have to worry about.
yeah, a ton of misconceptions. So, all right, so for somebody listening, the Riviera Maya, what would you define that as? You're gonna say like Cancun down to Tulum, and then kind of
Yeah.
which market do you really operate in, or do you do the most business in?
Okay. Well, I mean, it's debatable where the Riviera Maya really starts, but I kind of look at Cancun as a separate market personally. And to me, the Riviera Maya is more from like Puerto Morelos uh, down to, Tulum, but it can go extend down to Mahahual, even where Bacalar and that other area is, all the way down to Chetumal. The area that I focus on is basically Puerto Morelos to Tulum. I don't really go any further than that. And I barely do any business in Puerto Morelos right now because that's an area that's very limited inventory anyways. And I have a couple of real estate agents that I can, contact for properties there, but it's just not a lot of options. And the prices, because of the low inventory, are really high. So I mainly focus on Playa del Carmen, Akumal, Tulum, sometimes Puerto Aventuras is another neighborhood that people are interested in.
Okay, and for me, it's really Playa del Carmen. I like Playa del Carmen because it's very walkable. And then Tulum is really getting a lot of the attention, and it's got the like really cool jungle meets the beach type vibe. What do you usually, is it kind of like 50-50, or do you have clients that kind of prefer one market or the other? What are your takes on that?
I think a lot of people are searching, and there's a lot of buzz about Tulum. It's sort of like the Instagrammable place right now. A lot of influencers. If you go on Instagram or Facebook, you're going to see things about Tulum. They have beautiful beaches, and just I don't even know the length of the beach, but it's a really long beach. There's these great boutique hotels that are on the beach, and a lot of them have like nightclub atmosphere during the middle of the day. So it's really popular amongst young people, and it's getting a lot of hype. And during the pandemic, when we were all on lockdown, there was no such thing as a pandemic until it was just like wide open, people partying, and it got really popular during that period of time. Now that the world has opened up a little bit more, things have cooled off a little bit in Tulum. It's not the only place to go anymore, but it's still a beautiful area, and there's still a lot of development going on there. And it's geographically, it's much bigger than Playa del Carmen is. So there's potential for it to grow and to be even bigger than what Playa del Carmen is. Playa del Carmen probably has 350,000 year-round residents or something like that. At one point it was the fastest growing city in Latin America. Um, and I think Tulum has got to be up there, one of the fastest growing, places in the world right now. But yeah, Tulum is very interesting. There's a lot of really cool, kind of eco chic, like this jungle meets the beach, bohemian style of architecture. They use different type of like materials to make it look more natural, to blend in with nature. So there's a lot of really cool designs and things happening there that are very, very appealing to the eye. And I think it's going to continue to be very popular. But there is a lot of inventory. There's about 400 developments right now, over 400 that are for sale in Tulum. And there's a lot of developers looking to get permits to build in Tulum as well, because there's tons of area. It's kind of like Cabo in the sense that there's so much land there that could be potentially developed on, and maybe Cabo gets to that point where it really hits a boom. But yeah, Tulum is going through a major transformation from little beach town to like becoming a legit city. So there's growing pains with that, right? Infrastructure needs to catch up with the real estate production and development. But I see things happening in Tulum in waves where it gets really popular and everyone wants to go there, and then it kind of goes down and it goes up and it goes down and it goes up. It's a little manic depressive in a way. But overall, in the long term, the prices in the Riviera Maya compared to other places in Mexico like Puerto Vallarta and Cabo are still really competitive and inexpensive, relatively speaking. And so there's opportunities to buy properties at really low prices. And I think 10 or 15 years from now, people are going to be sitting on a lot of equity if they invest here. But it's just like anywhere. You got to fall in love with the area before you go and invest. I don't get that many pure investors that just come down and say, I just want to buy an investment. Everyone wants to have something that they can use and enjoy too. And that's like the intangible benefit of owning a property in Mexico, is that you get to be in Mexico and use it and be, going to the amazing beaches and all the attractions and stuff like that. But I'm
Yes.
going on a little bit of a tangent. So remind me what's the focus of the
No, no, no. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, a lot of this is very much a lifestyle play investment, but most people are going to be using this a certain portion of the year. Yeah, they might rent it out, but it's the same thing here. Just out of curiosity, with like over 400 projects happening in Tulum, do you ever have somebody reach out about maybe a condo or a project in Tulum, and you're just like, no, 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 no? I imagine there's probably levels of speculation there too, or is it pretty much anybody going in there is pretty legit, or is it something that you really have to kind of vet out?
Well, you really need to have an experienced real estate agent that's going to help you guide you through the process and keep you away from bad investments. So when you're buying pre-sale, there's always risk that, I always say there's a few different things that could potentially happen. The worst case scenario is you invest in something and the project goes belly up and you lose money, right? And obviously no one wants to be in that situation. Another situation could be that you have these fancy renders and everything looks so cool, and you're like, yeah, I want to buy that. I'm all in. This is going to be awesome. And then you put your 30% down, maybe some money during construction. The thing gets finished. It looks nothing like what you thought it was going to be. So you're obviously disappointed. The quality's not as good. It doesn't look good. It's like a bait and switch. And then there's the scenario where you got a really good developer and they're well funded and they're going to finish the project, but maybe they don't finish it exactly on time. So the contracts here give you 6 months a grace period, and you can kind of count on it, something being 3 months past delivery. That's been the latest trend. A lot of that has to do with supply chain issues because of COVID. A lot of developers have been late, but big developers that have a lot of money, they deliver something
Yeah.
eventually. And you can rely on a standard, sort of standard of quality that it's going to be a good product. It's not going to, it's not an inferior product that's going to have problems and things like that. Um, so when you're buying pre-sale, you really need to vet it, as you say. You got to do your due diligence and make sure that whoever you're dealing with has money to build it. They're not relying on your money to continue building the project. Because a lot of developers, I look at them like startup companies. Hey, let's go to Tulum and let's buy a lot and let's build a development. Like, we don't know anything, but hey, what could go wrong? And then, a lot of things could go wrong. And also getting permits with the government in Mexico. You think that the permit's going to cost you this much, and then the government's hassling you to pay more. It's kind of like it gets to the point where things can get out of control when you're building something, and expenses can go way higher than what you originally anticipated, and you can and it can be risky. So in general, what we do is we advise people to make sure, like, hey, I'm going to give you all this information. You understand it. You're making an educated choice. At the end of the day, it's your money. You can do what you want. But if you ask me, I would recommend you go with these other developments that are from more established developers that we know they're going to build something good. We can walk into one of their other developments and see the quality. We know they have a good track record. They have money, and your risk is going to be minimized then. But of course, I mean, right now with 400 developments happening in Tulum, out of those 400, how many of those are actually being built, and how many of those are being built by companies that don't have experience? At some point in time, there's going to be some horror stories that are going to happen. And if you don't have an experienced agent that's going to steer you away from those problems, then you're at a very high risk of having a bad experience.
Yeah. And another thing about, if you have somebody that's got experience, they're not going to really get that shock of like, hey, permitting is going to be more, or they've dealt with that local municipality. So it's always take a look at their track record and see, at least over here. I imagine the same over there. For Playa del Carmen, it seems like it's a more built out market and more resales. Is that correct? Or is there still a lot of construction going on there?
There's still some development, but not as much as Tulum. So the resale market is much stronger and more established. There's a lot more real estate agents that have been in the business for a longer time in Playa too. So they know how to. I mean, they look for resale properties for their clients. They don't just go to brand new construction. So a lot of real estate agents in Tulum, and there's hundreds, don't have a lot of experience, and they work for companies where the model is get somebody to put 30% down on a property so that we can get paid a commission, right away. Like, we don't want, why do a resale? It's easier to get someone to put only 30% down instead of 100% down. So Tulum, I feel like the resale market in Tulum is it's challenging, and I have a lot of resale properties there that are really good properties that are low risk for for a buyer, but a lot of the real estate agents don't even want to promote it because they're like, well, I can get paid a bigger commission from a developer, and I only have to put 30% down, have the buyer put 30% down. Playa is different. There are some new developments, but it's it's more established. There's not as many empty lots and places that they can just build on. It's been 20 years or so since Playa del Carmen has been established. And even when I moved down here in 2014, I remember the pedestrian part of Fifth Avenue, it ended at 38th Street. And now it ends like 10 or 15 blocks further down, where more and more development is going. And it's in the areas that they're developing in more often than not are the northern part of the town. But but there's gentrification happening as well. So they'll buy an old house and tear it down, or an old, old building, tear it down and build a new development. So those types of things are happening as well. But yes, it's the resale market in Playa is definitely more. It's a it's more established, and more real estate agents are looking for resales because there's definitely less inventory of brand new pre-construction properties in Playa.
Yeah, no, and you just reminded me something. This guy reached out about this project here on the Pacific side, and just from what they were paying, I was like, look, man, this project looks great. I'm gonna come out and see it. He was very nice. I just like, man, I'm not gonna bring any buyers here because I know no other agents are gonna bring buyers here, and that's part of what increases the prices, the buyers that come after. But if you're just going there by yourself, you're not gonna be able to identify those types of things, and it's again, especially in Mexico, it just kind of kicks it up another notch, especially risk wise. It's just something you need to and another thing that especially on that side there's no MLS system, right? So it's kind of it's a lot different because here in Cabo we have the MLS, but in the Riviera Maya you do not, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So there's a group called AMPI. It's a professional real estate association in Playa del Carmen, and they're trying to get an MLS established. They're in the works, but it's not the law, So like, not everyone, unless everyone had to do it, and like that was the way it was, then it's still going to have its challenges, because there are more established real estate companies that have been here for 15 years that have a huge database of clients, and they have tons of properties on their website, and they're sort of a quasi MLS in a way. And they don't some of them don't particularly want there to be an MLS because they feel like, well, why level the playing field for all the real estate agents out there? I've been here and I'm comfortable and I'm making a lot of money, and people come to my website. Why do I want them to go, and why do I want it to be equal for everyone else? Then there's companies that are like, no, we've been around for a long time, but we know that having an MLS will improve the standards and improve the how the ethics and everything in the market. So you can't just walk into a real estate office and say, hey, print me a list of like all the 2-bedroom properties between 250 and 300. That we don't have that. So now, how do you know what the best deal is? I mean, you have to have an experienced agent that knows the inventory and has a good network, because half of the properties you're not even going to find online. They might be pocket listings. They might be, they're not even anywhere online, or if they are online, they're on one of the thousands of different websites. Some people use Point Two Homes. It's a platform that's that it was developed in Canada, and people pay for ads, and no one updates them. There's like listings from like 5 years ago on there. I get
Yeah.
people telling me,
Yep.
"Yeah, look, you can buy this, 1 bedroom in Tulum for 79,000. Can we go see that?" And I'm like, my time machine broke, so I can't get that. Once I get that
Yeah.
thing fixed, we can go check that out. And they just laugh, like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's old. It's an old listing." So you can't rely on the web pages of what you see online here, because half of the stuff's inaccurate. It might not be available. The price might be wrong. It could be. I mean, I've seen things that were like from years ago. You know,
Yeah.
so that puts us in a position of being like more needed. In one sense, it's like, okay, like I can, if a client understands what we are going up against, and they realize, and and they're like educated and they don't have a lot of time, they're going to want to work with me because they know I'm going to help save them a ton of time and
Yeah.
frustration. I'm going to sift through all the crap and figure out what is actually real here, and take you to the best projects that are going to offer you the best deal and in the right property for you. But then you get people that like to do it themselves, and I just try to tell them, like, look, just understand that half of the stuff you're going to find is not going to be accurate, and then you better have thick skin, or like a high threshold to be able to, because the frustration level you're going to get when you start seeing that half of these things aren't even available, it starts to get a little annoying after a while. And people can complain about it. And it's like, hey, that's why you just let me do it for you. I'll help you come down. I'll send you a list of properties. You can collaborate. You can send me some things too, and we can go back and forth and we can give you some feedback. But, if you're going to try to go on this on your own, good luck to you. You're not going to find what you want. And there's a great chance that you're going to end up buying something that's overpriced because you don't have an expert, that's telling you, that's actually finding the other properties. Or if you go directly with a developer, they're like, this is the best deal ever. You should buy this. And like, yeah, this is the best deal ever. And then you don't know that 2 blocks down the street, there's another development where the price is 25% lower than what you're paying.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing to do your due diligence, but it could actually be way more expensive to work on your own, thus defeating the entire purpose of, trying to do it on your own. Like I get it. People want to understand the markets and learn. That's great. But if you're just trying to do it to like possibly save a commission or something like that, that's where
It's not
somebody's
going to
selling
happen.
you, especially when you don't have an MLS and like somebody can just flip you something that's like 25% more than what the latest comp that they sold, and you have no idea.
Exactly. And the developers and a lot of sellers are greedy. They're not that motivated. They'll put a ridiculous price tag on a property and they'll wait for some sucker to come down and overpay. And I have clients that ask me to list their properties for them. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to list it. Like, you want me to overcharge someone by like 20% more than what the market value is for the property? What do you think is going to happen once they figure that out? They're going to figure it out eventually, right? And I
Yeah.
can't have my company called Best Deal Mexico and then be like, oh yeah, it's really not the best deal. You just overpaid by 25%. Like, that would kind of defeat the whole purpose and philosophy. And when you've been in sales and customer service long enough, you realize that the relationship that you have is gold,
Is
and
everything.
they're worth way more than one single transaction. So if you're out there, trying to lead people to buy things that are overpriced, you're not going to get referral business. You're going to get people to complain about you and be like, this guy screwed me and why I don't want to work with him. And they're going to tell everybody not to work with that guy, right? You don't want to be in that position. So the people that want to do it on their own, I feel like a lot of Mexican nationals try to do that because they're like, I'm Mexican and I could buy in Mexico and I don't need a real estate agent. They don't value the relationship. They don't value the profession as much. And then they go on, they pay the same price as they would if you or I made the offer for them. In some cases, they pay
Yeah.
more because we know what the average discount is. We know what discount they gave us in the last deal, and then they overpay, and then they screw us out of a commission. It's like, dude, you just screwed us both. Like,
Yeah.
work with a professional. We're gonna get you a better deal. That's what we do for a living. If
Yeah.
you don't live and breathe real estate in the market that you want to buy in, if you're not an expert, then you need an expert. I mean, that there's no, I mean, otherwise you're risking overpaying or buying into something that has major problems. You're just going to create a big headache for yourself and potential financial hardship. And and those people that are at the pool, hey, how much did you pay for your place? My client says I paid this much, 225, and then the other guy's like, oh shit, I paid
Yeah.
250. My client's paying 225, not 250. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I don't get referrals, and I'm not doing my job, and I don't sleep well. So you really have to go above and beyond to help to make people happy with their investment. It's not simple to sell real estate here at all. Because it's like finding a needle in a haystack sometimes, the right property. And it's a little more manual labor, but in the end it's worth it because then once you do right by a client, then you have them and they're going to recommend you to their family and friends, or they're going to buy again. So you do a lot of hard work at the beginning, and then after 5-6 years of working in the business, I think we're going on 7 years now, we can consider ourselves experts. I work with my wife, Carla. She's Mexican from Tijuana. and we met in San Diego. So she's dual citizen. So together we're both fluent in Spanish. We have connections with the Mexican, real estate agents and also the expats that speak English. And we're known as experts with high integrity, and we do because we've been doing sales for a long time. We know that it's the relationship that matters. And you got to, if you do right by people, then you're going to get tons of referrals later on. And that's what's happening now.
Yep.
Um, 50 more than 50% of my business is referral based.
Nice.
That's what you want.
So yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree. I'm curious. We're March 2023 right now, and I'm just curious. We're coming off, at least in Cabo, like two of the hottest years ever. I imagine areas like Tulum as well. What are you seeing right now? Is it more of a normal market? Has it slowed down? Is it the same? What's going on?
So I've talked to a lot of agents. I always want to know what's going on. I mean, we don't have the MLS, so I can't just pull up statistics and tell you. It's a lot more challenging that, but I try to keep the pulse and know what's going on with other agents. And some people definitely have said that things have cooled off from the last 2 years. The last 2 years was like a buying frenzy. Everyone with like pent up demand and people locked up because of COVID. They're just like, um, let me get something. Let me get that. I need to stop kicking tires. Let's buy a place. There's still a lot of buyers around. I feel like there's more sales happening with pre-sales in Tulum, definitely than the resales. And in Playa, the resale market is doing pretty well. We've gotten a few accepted offers in the last couple of months, and we have a few more pending. So, but it's definitely it feels a little slower than what it's been in the last couple of years. It does feel a little bit slower. I think there's a lot more people looking around now, and
Yep.
maybe a little bit more cautious because we hear all this stuff about what's happening with the economy. The rates went up in the U.S. and I think in Canada as well, where interest rates were so low for so long and money was so cheap, and now it's not as easy to take that. It's not as attractive to pull equity out of a property back home and buy it in another country or anywhere. And stock market's not making as much money as it was. So a couple of years ago, people had a ton of equity and a ton of money, and we're like, what do I need to do with this? Let me
Yeah,
diversify and get some
exactly.
money invested in real estate instead of having it heavy in the stock market. But I do also think that a lot of smart investors are trying to maybe just wait and see what's going to happen, and because they think the prices are going to go down here, probably. I know they think that
Yeah,
in the US, and let me just wait and I'll wait and see what happens. But they don't realize that the market here is cash. So the prices don't go down that much. And people,
exactly.
if you
Yeah.
bought it cash, then chances are you have more than that, just that property. You're an investor. You have some wealth. You're not going to just drop the price 50%. So some guy, some buyer in the U.S. cash buyer is going to wheel and deal and get some amazing deal. It doesn't work like that because no one wants to give away half their money. Developers could end up lowering prices at some point because of so many more developments. We'll have to see what happens with that. That's tough because inflation and cost of construction have gone up a lot. But at the end of the day, you can't just have buildings sitting there. You have to sell them too. So I don't think resales will go down much in price. I think resales are a better bargain right now in a lot of cases because those people that bought more than 2 years ago bought for a much lower price than what the cost of construction is now. So I think in Tulum, they're going to be, and probably all around the Riviera Maya, the developers are going to have to start lowering prices a little bit, giving better discounts. So it's here. It's not the sky's falling, the economy's we're in a recession and everything's because there's no mortgages, there's no foreclosures, no short sales. It's a lot more stable. Maybe the prices will stop going up as much because they've been going up like crazy for the last couple of years, but maybe it'll get flat, is what I predict.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know what's going to happen, but
Yeah.
I know that prices don't go down here. They don't really go down unless they're overinflated to begin with.
Okay. Um, it's funny. They just announced a train here that's gonna go from like Tijuana all the way down to Cabo. And
Oh
somebody was like,
wow.
"Oh yeah, it's four years away." And I was like, "All right, let's see what's happening." So my question is, you got the Mayan train going on that side too, and any sort of infrastructure like that, in my opinion, is always good, helps people out. With the Tulum airport, are those happening? What's going on with that? Are people getting excited with that, or is that just kind of like, eh?
I feel like developers and big real estate companies are hyping it up a lot because it is a like if it does happen, assuming it happens, it's going to increase tourism, right? It's going to make it easier for people to travel from Cancun to Tulum and the little towns that are in between because they'll have stops. And it's supposed to go all the way to Merida. It's supposed to go around the whole, you know, area, I guess, where the Mayan civilizations were, like the Yucatan Peninsula and Quintana Roo, and even into Oaxaca and Chiapas and other areas. Um, I just read an article yesterday that said it's going to be operational by December 1st. I've seen the construction being done and the path that they've carved out in the jungle in a couple of different places. Do I Is it possible for them to get, I don't know what part of it's going to be operational. Like, is the whole Mayan train going to be ready by December? Probably. I doubt that. But maybe some point from one point to another it will be. I always say in Mexico though, like until it's there, I don't even really talk about it. Like
Yeah,
I'm the exact opposite of hyping things up. Like I'm more of a skeptic, and I'm going to tell you, I'm borderline killing my own sales to make sure that I'm doing right by customers and
yeah,
telling them
that's the
what
way to do it.
reality is. Because I don't want to be the guy that I think he told me this and he told me that and that never happened. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to ever happen with me. At the end of the day, if I know that your life's going to improve by you buying a property down here, and I'm going to do everything that I can to be a resource to you to make sure that after the deal is closed, that you have someone to help you transition and all of that. Like it's not just okay, Fletcher, see you later, good luck, peace out. Um, but I'm not going to be hyping people up about things that don't currently exist. It's just not. I hope it happens. I think it would be nice to have that, but we'll see. You know,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen? The Tijuana
No,
Express.
oh, dude, if they're talking 4 years, it might be 10. But then it's like by the time you have the next president come in, he's throwing it to the wayside because he's got a resentment against the guy before him. You
Yeah,
see a
yeah,
lot of this activity, just like you would in the United States. So it's the
yeah.
same
We're
thing.
getting
Somebody
that.
dropped it. Somebody dropped it in our group chat for our team, and I was like, man, this is like 5 years too premature to talk about it. Like they don't even have like it was like a picture of like a bullet train going through like Colorado or something. It wasn't even like they even had like a design for it yet or the route or anything. So
Yeah.
very premature. But I agree, it's here. I'm not going to count any chickens before they hatch type thing. So
No, no. I mean, listen, I think they should have built a better highway system right next to the Mayan train, and that would have, helped for future infrastructure needs. But AMLO, the president of Mexico, just wants to, boom, boom. I want my legacy. I want that Mayan train. Everyone to know me. A lot of ego involved, and he wants this legacy and this and that, and he's really forcing the issue. And we'll see if it happens. I mean, it could end up being just another big waste of money that happens a lot of time in Mexico. You never know. But in the meantime, if you want to get from Cancun to Tulum, you can take a public transportation, a bus that only costs like $25, and it's very comfortable. Watch a movie or get in a nice car service or take a taxi. You don't need to be on a Mayan train to get to anywhere that you need to get to. But someday when it does happen, it will be a nice thing to have.
Another thing that I was curious about is, Cabo's obviously on the West Coast. We get a lot of like California, Texas. We get a lot of, like Denver, Arizona, Western states, right? Seattle, things like that. Where are a lot of your clients coming from? And just, I guess, yeah, answer that one. And then I got one more after that.
Okay. Um, Actually, a lot of Texas buyers because it's a really quick flight. And there's some cities in Texas like Dallas and Houston where it's even hotter there in the summertime than it is down here, believe it or not. I know Cabo's a little bit more drier heat, like more desert like. Here is very humid, but it won't usually get past 88 to 90 degrees. But it'll feel like 100 because it'll be because of the dew point or
Humidity.
humidity or whatever. We do get a lot of Canadian buyers. Um, you know, Toronto, Montreal, different parts of Canada. I get people from the western part of Vancouver, Ottawa. I mean, all over. Snowbirds from Canada definitely are all in with coming down to the Riviera Maya. Cancun has, I think, more flights to it than Cabo, so you might have the advantage over there with a lot of people on the West Coast. Um, that like it's an easy flight for them to come down, like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. But what I find is that either if someone falls in love with the Riviera Maya, like because it's different, right? I mean, it's Caribbean, it's soft white sand. There's no hills, no mountains, so you don't have the views and things like you do in Cabo, but you have a more tropical, humid environment. That's not everyone's cup of tea, but some people love it. Some people say the humidity is the best thing for your skin and all this stuff, and it's healthier for you, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, um, I know that Texans and people that live in cities that are hot, they come year round and they don't care. They love it. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that people that live in colder environments, like in the northern parts of the world, they probably would come down here in the summertime, maybe once in a while to check on their property and just have a quick trip. But they're more inclined to want to come down between November and May, when the weather is nice here. Like when the weather's nice here, it's like San Diego weather, and like 75, 80, low humidity. That's like between, January and May. But then, we get our hurricane season. That's when it's more warmer and more humid and more rain. Um, it gets a lot hotter. It gets to the 88 mark. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we have European buyers. I have people from South America too. Um, Mainly my clients, though, it seems maybe I just attract them as Americans. It's easier for me to deal with Americans. We're more similar culturally.
Yeah.
Um, New York. A lot of New Yorkers buy in Tulum. Tulum has a special vibe to it that a lot of New Yorkers are digging. Miami, Atlanta, definitely Atlanta. We've been getting a lot more people from Atlanta area, but I still get people from LA, San Francisco, and other areas too. I
Yeah.
guess it's all over, and all over
Yeah.
Mexico, and parts of Mexico as well. What about you? What's your main buyers? Where are they from?
No, it's the same. I'd say Texas, California, Colorado, Washington. I had a buyer from New York, um, Atlanta starting so it's kind of the same. You do have more flights going to Cancun. So, but there's just daily flights coming here. I mean, they're getting like a new runway at the airport. So it's the same thing. I mean, it's the numbers are going up. It kind of is irrelevant, but I actually do like in all the content I do, I just say American and naturally a lot of Canadians because it's really one and the same. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of Americans that are reaching out. Plus, like Canadians had like a lot more stricter regulations for COVID and stuff. So for the past couple of years, it's been a lot more Americans, but West Coast and Texas.
Yeah, I
So
mean, both areas are really nice. I think a lot of people that are in the position financially to own in both areas would do so, because like, well, I have my place in Cabo, I got my place in Playa or Tulum or whatever.
Yeah.
They're different kind of a places, and they're both very enjoyable. And like the one thing about the Riviera Maya, in general, except for maybe Tulum and parts of Cancun, is that it's really inexpensive, like to go out to eat and like,
Yeah.
and you probably can find the local places that are less expensive. But I think we're gonna have more and more people that are gonna have places in both areas because they're very different from each other and both have really redeeming qualities to them, and they're both good investments. So like
Yeah.
where else do you want to buy like property? Like in the United States, it's so expensive now to buy an investment property. And what are you going to do with that investment property? You're not going to drive 2 miles down the road and hang out at your, they're not
Yeah.
Airbnbs, they're
It's
long-term rentals.
it's not a lifestyle play. It's not a lifestyle play, period. Where here it is. I don't want to keep people too long on here. So before we head out, what is the best way to contact you?
My email is easy. It's dave@bestdealmexico.com. I have my website, bestdealmexico.com, that you can go on and you can, contact us that way. Those are probably the two easiest ways to get in touch. On the website, there's, you can click on my phone number and it should open up to WhatsApp to do a chat on WhatsApp, or you can just copy paste it and, and text me like regular text. And I'm usually very, very quick about responding to text messages and WhatsApps. Emails, probably within a couple of hours. But yeah,
Cool.
people have questions and they want to know more about the market down here. I'm going to tell them like it is. They're interested and they want to go look. We'll explain to them everything they need to know. And, and if I think Cabo is better, I'll tell them to go to Cabo. It depends, right? At the end of the day, it's what you like and what you want to do and what's easiest to get to. So those direct flights, that's a huge factor. Like if you live in a city where there's a direct flight, then that makes it a lot more attractive. But if you have to go, like we have a big advantage over places like Roatan and like other parts of like Belize, because people have to take like 3 different methods of transportation to get there, and that you're spending a whole day of to get to a place, and then that's just kind of like 2 days of wasted on your vacation of just traveling. So
Yeah.
if you can just get on a quick flight and be somewhere, or even if it's a 4-hour flight, that's still not terrible. At least you get on one plane, you get off, and you're there. And I think that is as more and more direct flights open up. There's actually one I heard that's going to be opening up from between Cancun and Cabo.
Cabo.
I don't know if you heard
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, over time, things are just going to get easier and easier, I think. And these areas are just going to continue to grow and get more popular because the alternatives in the US aren't that great. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to buy there? And if you can buy something with your IRA or whatever, and in a foreign country, and then be able to go to a place and enjoy it, like that's an intangible benefit that you're not going to get with an investment property, back home, a long-term rental. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, appreciate the
Awesome. Well,
conversation. It's
no, no,
always
no,
good to
Dave,
see
thank you
you.
so much, man. I'm sure we'll be doing something in the near future too. So thank you for your time, man. And we'll let you get going. All right. Thank you.